Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with another video. We got a 4runner here doing a belt tensioner, belt, idler pulley. I'll take you through step by step. Please like, share, subscribe. It really helps me out. The algorithm is killing me right now. So please just hit like. Even if you hate me, please. Step 1, pop yo hood. Here's the belt I'm using. Gates K060882. Here's the part number for the belt tensioner. This one's a Gates 38488. Part numbers for this Four Seasons 45021. Take the passenger side front tire off to make your life a lot easier, so you can get into the nooks and crannies. I'm gonna take this cover off here. Just use a panel popper. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that'll come out. To make my life easier, we're gonna move this piece of the air tube out of the way, and we're gonna move this coolant overflow. This has two 10mm, one on each side to get to the cover, and then down here you have a clamp. You undo the clamp there, undo the clamp here, and then just squeeze this with your fingers, pull this vacuum line off, and this will come out of the way. We have this one over here as well. So this one, I can almost do with my fingers. I'm gonna use pliers though. Pull this one off. There's a wiring harness attached. So just set it out of the way like that. I have pretty decent access. Now we got two 10mm here, one up here, and another one down here. So there's 1, 2, 3 10mm that hold this guy on. We're gonna have the alternator flopping around, and we don't want nothing to short. So go ahead and remove the positive battery terminal with a 10mm. You're going to need a 14mm. You put it on that tensioner. Grab another one. Do the little hooky deal. Pull this up. And that releases the pressure on the tensioner. And now we can go over here and remove the belt. And then slowly let this back down without smashing your fingers. For reference, the belt goes over the AC all by itself. One piece goes over the fan here. One piece goes over the idler. Then it wraps down, goes over the power steering. From the power steering underneath the bottom idler. Then up and over the tensioner. Then it goes from the belt where it was going over, then down and under the crank pulley, and then up to the tensioner. I'm sure there's a diagram online you could find if that was too confusing, but there isn't really a lot of space for me to show you. So just Google a picture, I guess. Use a 14mm here to remove the center bolt that holds this idler pulley. Here are the new pulley versus the old pulley. The old one's grindy when you spin it. You have this little dust cover thing in the bolt. You want the recessed part to be the back, and then it will bolt like that. This thing sort of sits on an angle like this. These two up here that are towards the top of the engine are a 12mm. So you're going to want a deep socket 12. There's one of the 12s, and then the other one is right above it. To get the power steering pump loose, you need a 14mm, and you need to rotate the pulley so the socket lines up with the stud and bolt. Use a 17mm to pull off the banjo fitting bolt. Put a drip pan under the truck to catch the power steering fluid. So there's bolts and stuff that are holding the tensioner and the pump on. That also, the tensioner has the alternator on top of it, so we need to pretty much take the alternator off too. We have to remove, or just tilt the alternator out of the way actually. So we're gonna loosen this one. And they can't even get to see it. We're gonna just loosen this one so it tilts, pivots. And then there's one right there. We're gonna take that all the way out. And that also is the stud that the tensioner rides on. To give me extra room to get my fat arms in here, we're gonna remove these 4 bolts that hold the sway bar, and then the sway bar can come down like over here. Gives me clear access to get to most of this stuff up in here. But right now, as you can tell, really hard to do anything with this bar in the way. Take this bottom alternator bolt all the way out. This is a 12 millimeter here. It's just a nut, take it off. And then the alternator should slide forward. Yeah. And now it could slide forward and you could push it out of the way. It's on a different stud or something. It's hung up somewhere. Somewhere on the top stud there. So, ouch! Ow, my finger! So now we should be able to get to everything. So this stud that the alternator was on, that holds part of the tensioner, and then we got this guy here. We'll remove this bolt. We should be able to pull the tensioner off now after this. This bolt is a 14 millimeter. Toyota, you're stupid and annoying. So this cover, this plastic cover here, actually goes over a lip on the tensioner. See this lip? And it covers it. So you can't pull the damn thing off until you pull that top cover off. So you're gonna go all the way around. And those are all 10 millimeter bolts. You're gonna take them all out, pull that plastic cover. When you get this cover off, then there's another tiny cover here, and there's 2 12 millimeter. See the one that's still down there? And then there's one right there. 2 12 mils, you got to pull those out. Now it's a matter of getting all this stuff taken apart. Somebody didn't torque that down with Loctite, that stud. So I'm going to put some Loctite on that stud, so I can actually make sure it doesn't come out. It is now time to grab the new tensioner, put it back in the reverse order you did, and throw the other one in the trash. Get that little cover back on once you slide in the tensioner, and put the 2 12s back in, then put that 12 millimeter nut there. And there's a 12 millimeter nut on the top. Get those both tightened down. We're gonna put this cover back on with the 10s. Now that the cover's all back on and everything, we're gonna slide this idler pulley, start it by hand, then get my ratchety wrench and put that thing on all the way. On the alternator, you got 3 bolts. Make sure all 3 bolts on the alternator are put in. You got 2 nuts, and there's one up there, and then the 1 bolt. You got 2 studs with 2 nuts and 1 bolt. To be honest, if you're doing this job, you might as well just swap your alternator too, because you got to take the power steering pump out of the way to easily access the alternator. So might as well just spend the money and do it. At this point, everything else is just putting it back together. All the simple stuff. I'm sure you can handle it if you got this far in the video. So like the air box, the sway bar, things like that. Just bolt that all back up, and that's all there is to it. So like, share, subscribe. Till next time, wrench on.